Chi-Town Horror Stories by Carl M. Mars. Hey Chi-Town, it's your boy Carl M. Mars, straight out of the heart of Chicago. Today, I'm dropping a story that went down back when I was in my 20s, right here in our city. It's one of those tales that sticks with you, so grab a seat and get comfy. And hey, this ain't the only Chicago story I got in store for you. Let's get into it. In '92, Richard and Lynn Eilenfeld, they were like any of us, chasing that big dream. They put everything they had into this Brown's chicken joint in Palatine. You know Brown's, right? That place was everywhere back then, like over 300 stores nationwide. The Eilenfelds, they were all in, betting on a future full of good vibes and crispy chicken. But life, man, it's got a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect it. It's a typical snowy night in Palatine. Streets are quiet and folks are just doing their thing. Over at Brown's, the crew's getting ready to close up. Among them are Michael Castro, just a kid really, and Guadalupe Maldonado, a hard-working dude. They're supposed to head home after locking up, but the night had other plans. Families start to worry when their folks don't show up. Michael's mom, she's pacing around, wondering where her son's at, and the Maldonados, they're just as anxious. Hours pass, and no word. Something's off, and everyone's feeling it. Manny Castro ain't waiting around. He hits up Brown's, finds the place all locked up, lights out. He's knocking, calling out, but nothing. Manny's gut's telling him this ain't right, so he calls the cops. They figure, hey, maybe the kids hit up a party, they'll turn up. But Manny, he's not buying it. He heads back to Brown's, meets Officer Ron Conley. They break in and, man, what they find is straight out of a horror movie. The place is a mess, and in the back, the freezer. It's a scene you can't unsee. Bodies just piled on top of each other. The town, it just stops. Nobody can believe what's going down in Palatine. After that night, Palatine ain't the same. Families are torn apart. Richard and Lynn, Michael, Guadalupe, all of them gone in the blink of an eye. The community's heartbroken, scared, angry. You can feel it in the air. And Brown's Chicken, the place becomes like a ghost town. Employees bail, customers stay clear. The franchise starts tanking. All over the news, people are talking about it. But no answers, just a lot of questions and a whole lot of pain. Fast forward to 2002. The case has gone cold, but out of nowhere, this woman, Ann Lockett, steps up. She's got a story that blows the lid off everything. Her ex, James Degorski, and his buddy Juan Luna, they're behind the whole thing. Ann spills it all, says they wanted to see what killing felt like. The cops, they're all over it. They match DNA from the scene to these guys, and just like that, the pieces start falling into place. The trials, they were something else. First up is Luna. The evidence is stacked against him. They even got him on tape confessing. The jury doesn't take long. Guilty on all counts. He's looking at life without parole. 2 years later, it's Degorski's turn. His trial's a mess, but the verdict? Same as Luna's. Both guys are locked up for life. For some, it feels like justice. For others, it's just a reminder of what's lost. Nothing's bringing those 7 back. Here we are years later. That night, it changed Palatine, changed all of us in Chi-Town a bit. It's one of those stories that's hard to shake. You think about the people, the lives cut short. Makes you look at your city different, Makes you hold your people a little tighter. But it also shows us how strong we can be when the worst comes our way. All right, folks, that's the wrap on this one. The Brown's Chicken Massacre. It's a dark part of our history, but we gotta remember it, talk about it. It's how we make sure this kind of thing never happens again. Drop your thoughts in the comments, let's chat about it, and hey, stick around. I've got more Chi-Town stories for you. This is Carl M. Mars, keeping it real here at Chi-Town Horror Stories. So the investigation's in full swing, right? Cops all over the place, digging into every little detail. The community's buzzing with theories. Everyone's a detective all of a sudden. The police are sifting through clues, but man, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. Families are holding vigils. The whole town's in mourning, and everyone's asking the same question: who could do something like this? Time moves on, but for the families of the victims, it's like life's on pause. Birthdays, holidays, all those moments, they're just reminders of who's missing. And the community, they're feeling it too. There's this cloud over Palatine, like a part of its soul got ripped away. It's tough, watching so many people carrying that kind of hurt. Years are rolling by, and the case, it's ice cold. But then, Ann Lockett comes out of nowhere with the truth bomb. This tip, it's like a spark in dry grass. Suddenly, everything's on fire again. The cops, they're back in action, piecing it all together. Degorski and Luna, these guys were right under everyone's nose the whole time. Inside the courtroom, it's intense. You could cut the tension with a knife. Luna's up first, and the evidence is just piling up. The confession tape, the DNA, it's all pointing right at him. The guy's face is stone, but you can see the gears turning. The trial's all anyone can talk about. When the jury says guilty, it's like a wave crashes over the room. Now it's Degorski's turn to face the music. His trial's a whole different vibe. The guy's playing it cool, but everyone knows the score. Anne Lockett's up there, spilling all the beans. The jury's not buying his act, and boom, another life sentence handed down. 2 killers locked away, but it's small comfort for a wound that deep. After the trials, there's this collective exhale in Chi-Town. But it ain't relief, more like acceptance. The city's been through the ringer. We're looking at our neighborhoods, our people, wondering how we missed the signs. It's a wake-up call, no doubt. We start seeing each other a little different, maybe a bit more understanding, a bit more connected. Years later, the Browns Chicken Massacre, it's still there like a scar. It's a story about loss, about evil, but also about strength. Strength of the families, the survivors, the whole damn city. We learn from it, grow from it. Palatine, Chi-Town, we don't forget. We take that pain and turn it into something else, something that keeps us moving forward. Now, as I tell you this story, it's more than just sharing a piece of Chicago's past. It's about keeping the memory of those we lost alive. It's about learning from our history, making sure we do better. This tale, it's a reminder of the work we still gotta do, the vigilance we gotta keep. It's about never letting our guard down, about looking out for each other. Chi-Town, we're known for our grit, our resilience. This story, as dark as it is, it's a testament to that. We faced one of the worst things imaginable, and we're still standing, still fighting. That's who we are. We take care of our own, and we don't let tragedy define us. We honor those we've lost by living our lives fuller, kinder, stronger. Out there on the streets, everyone's talking about the case. People sitting in barbershops, standing at bus stops, they're all throwing around theories. It's like the whole city's got its detective hat on. You hear anger, you hear sadness, but more than anything, you hear this disbelief. How could this happen here? That's the question on everyone's lips. Everywhere you go in Palatine, there's this echo of what happened. You see it in the way people look at each other, in the hushed conversations at the grocery store. It's like a shadow hanging over the town, you know? But there's something else too. This unspoken bond, this sense of, we gotta get through this together. It's tough, real tough, but it's there. After Luna and Degorski get locked up, you'd think there'd be some closure, but it's complicated, man. For a lot of folks, justice ain't bringing back those smiles, those laughs, those lives. There's relief, sure, but it's mixed with this deep, deep sadness. It's like this chapter's closed, but the book, it's still open, pages fluttering in the wind. Life goes on, but in silence, in this new normal. Parents hug their kids a little tighter, friends hold on to each other a bit longer. We start looking at strangers a bit differently, wondering about their stories, their pains. The massacre, it's not just headlines anymore. It's etched into the soul of Chi-Town. Degorski and Luna, these names, they're going to be remembered, but not the way they thought. They wanted to make a mark, and they did, but as villains, as the face of senseless brutality. Their story's a twisted one, a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind familiar faces. Palatine's healing, slow but sure. You see it in the way the community comes together, in memorials, in quiet acts of kindness. The town's got this resilience, this determination to not be defined by one horrific night. There's pain, yeah, but there's also this incredible strength, this unity that comes from facing the worst together. Back in the heart of Chi-Town, we're feeling it too. This story, it's like a pulse that runs through the city. We talk about it not just to remember the pain, but to remember the strength it brought out in us. It's about community, about looking out for your neighbor, about that Chi-Town spirit that never dies, no matter what. We don't forget the faces of those we lost, Richard and Lynn, Michael, Guadalupe, and the rest. They're more than just names in a news story. They're part of our city's story, part of our lives. We keep them alive in our memories, in the stories we tell, in the lessons we learn from what happened. In the wake of tragedy, we find lessons. Lessons about vigilance, about community, about the human spirit. We learn about the depths of evil, but also about the incredible heights of compassion and strength. This story teaches us to be aware, to care, to unite. It's a tough lesson, but it's a vital one. Let's not forget the folks who worked this case, the unsung heroes. Detectives, officers, community members, they put in the hours, the heart, the soul. They're part of this story too, a testament to the dedication and resolve of those who stand guard over our city. Chi-Town, we've got this resolve, this grit. We've seen the worst, but we choose to focus on the best in us. We take tragedy and we build from it. We learn, we grow, we come together. That's the true spirit of our city, unbreakable, undeterred, united. So that's the story, Chi-Town. It's a hard one, but it's ours. It's about pain, about loss, but also about hope, about strength. I shared this story to honor those we lost, and to remind us of the power we have when we stand together. Thanks for listening, for feeling this with me. Let's keep their memories alive. Let's keep our city strong. Stay tuned for more tales from our streets. This is Carl M. Mars, your voice of Chi-Town horror stories. Stay safe, stay strong, and remember, we're all in this together. In a city like ours, a story like this, it's like dropping a stone in a pond. The ripples, they just keep spreading. Folks in neighborhoods far from Palatine, they're feeling it too. It's in the way parents watch their kids, how friends check in on each other more. The whole city's holding its breath, hoping for healing, but knowing things won't be the same. You walk the streets of Chi-Town, and there's this reflection in every window, every face you pass. It's subtle, but it's there. A shared sorrow, a shared strength. We're all carrying a piece of this story, whether we know it or not. It's in the quiet nods, the small acts of kindness. That's how we're getting through. Chi-Town, it's like this living, breathing thing, right? And when something like the Brown's Chicken Massacre happens, the whole cityscape changes. It's not just about the physical spaces, it's about the air we breathe, the way the city lights hit the streets at night. Everything's got this different feel, a weight that we're all carrying together. Now in the bars, the barbershops, on the L trains, we're having conversations we never thought we'd have. Talking about safety, about community, about looking out for each other. These ain't easy talks, but they're necessary. It's like the city's having this big open dialogue trying to make sense of the senseless. The one thing you learn from a tragedy like this is the power of resilience. Chi-Town's got this tough exterior, but inside there's this incredible strength, this ability to bounce back. We mourn, we remember, but we also rebuild. Not just buildings and businesses, but hearts and minds. One thing's clear in all this. In Chi-Town, we look out for our own. It doesn't matter what part of the city you're from, we're all connected by these streets, by these stories. We see someone struggling, we lend a hand. That's just how we do things here. It's that Chi-Town heart, beating strong. Life moves on, but it's a new normal we're living in. We're more cautious, yeah, but we're also more connected. People are reaching out, forming new bonds, new communities. It's like we're all trying to build something stronger, something that can withstand any storm. Every year we remember those we lost at Brown's Chicken. Candlelight vigils, memorials. It's our way of keeping their spirits alive. We tell their stories, we say their names. It's not just about mourning, it's about honoring them, about making sure they're never forgotten in the hustle and bustle of Chi-Town. This story, it's shown us the true heart of our community. In the darkest times, that heart beats the strongest. We've seen acts of incredible kindness, of bravery, of love. It's these moments, these acts that define us. Not the tragedy, but how we respond to it. Every street in Chi-Town's got a story, but some stories, they leave deeper marks. We carry them with us in our memories, in our hearts. They shape us, mold us into who we are. The story of Brown's Chicken, it's one of those, a story that's become part of the very fabric of our city. As we move forward, we're building a legacy. Not just for those we lost, but for the generations to come. We're creating a Chi-Town that's stronger, kinder, more united. It's our responsibility, our mission. We owe it to ourselves, to our city, to those who can no longer walk these streets with us. And there you have it, my Chi-Town family. A story of loss, of pain, but also of hope, of unity. We've been through a lot, but look at us, still standing, still fighting, still loving. Keep those memories alive, keep those conversations going. Let's make sure we're leaving a Chi-Town that's even stronger than the one we found. Thanks for tuning in, for sharing this journey with me. This is Carl M. Mars, and you've been listening to Chi-Town Horror Stories. Until next time, stay strong, stay connected, stay Chi-Town. Chi-Town, we're no strangers to tough times, but this was different. The shadow of that night stretched far and wide, touching every corner of our city. You could feel it in the way people talked, in their silence, in the way they looked at each other. We were all living in the aftermath, trying to find our way in a city that suddenly seemed a whole lot bigger, a whole lot darker. Everybody's got their way of healing, of dealing with the pain. Some folks, they turned to community work, trying to make something positive out of the tragedy. Others, they found comfort in art, music, in the stories we share. We all were looking for something to hold on to, something to make sense of the senselessness. In Chi-Town, we're big on stories, especially the kinds we pass down to our kids. This one, though, it's tough. How do you tell your children about something so horrific yet so important? We do it carefully, with honesty, and with a focus on the strength it brought out in us. We tell them because it's a part of our history, a part of who we are. Years pass, but the questions, they don't fade. Why? How? Could anything have been done to stop it? These questions, they linger in the air in our conversations. We might never get all the answers, but we keep asking, keep seeking. It's how we learn, how we prevent history from repeating itself. One thing's for certain, the tragedy at Brown's Chicken. It forged bonds in our community like never before. People who'd never spoken before were now talking, sharing, supporting each other. We found unity in our collective grief, strength in our shared resolve. Out of the darkest times came some of the strongest connections. In the years that followed, the memories of those we lost at Brown's Chicken took on a new life. They became stories of inspiration, of moments cherished, of lives lived, however briefly. We remember not just how they died, but how they lived, how they laughed, how they loved. That's their true legacy. This is our city, our story. It's not just about a tragic night. It's about everything that came after. It's about how we handle the worst life can throw at us, how we come out stronger on the other side. This story, it belongs to all of us in Chi-Town. It's a part of our collective soul. If there's one lesson we take from all this, it's that life is fragile, precious. We learn to hold on to each other a little tighter, to appreciate the moments we have. We learn that even in the darkest of times, there can be light. In a helping hand, a kind word, a shared memory. As we move forward, we do so with an eye on the past. We remember, we reflect, but we also dream, we hope. We build a future that honors those we've lost, a future that's safer, kinder, more connected. We take the lessons from our past to build a better tomorrow. And that's the story, straight from the heart of Chi-Town. It's been a journey, sharing this with you. It's important we remember, we talk about it, we learn from it. I'll be back with more stories, more pieces of our city's heart and soul. Until then, this is Carl M. Mars, reminding you that we're all part of this great city's story. Keep the spirit of Chi-Town alive, in your hearts, in your actions. Stay strong, stay united. Peace.